Welcome to Money Lion MMA coverage of UFC Fight Night and UFC Vegas 64. We've got Marina Rodriguez fighting Amanda Lemos, a women's strawweight bout. Jose, we've got one girl, Rodriguez, coming off a 4-fight win streak, and Lemos 6-1 in her last 7 UFC bouts. I think this is going to be really close and an exciting main event. Not as much hype in this main event as previous, but I mean, it's kind of hard to top what we saw last weekend. But regardless, Marina Rodriguez currently a minus 220 favorite in this 5-round bout, and Amanda Lemos a plus 168 underdog. So I'll let you open the floor, Jose. What do you think on this one?
Yeah, this is an exciting one, like kind of a low key exciting one for sure. Marina Rodriguez, she has phenomenal striking on the feet, and so does Amanda Lemos. So I think it's pretty much safe to say that this will be a strong, a heavy striking match. Both barely look for the takedown in their fights, and both what I like about are finishers. I mean, 7 out of the 12 wins that Amanda Lemos has come via knockout, while 6 out of the 16 wins that Marina 6 out of the 16 wins that Marina Rodriguez has come from KO/TKO as well. So they both come with finishing power. But the way I look at it is Amanda Lemos, I think she has a little more power than Marina Rodriguez. And while I think Marina Rodriguez, what she has is I think she's able to finish people via TKO more by her high striking percentage. She does throw 5.03 significant strikes per minute, and she just sets up great combinations. And you don't have to get hit hard many times, but if you get hit in the same spot over and over again, it starts to hurt a lot more than what it really should if it was just once. And Amanda Lemos, like I said, she has that power to put you to sleep. And what I like what I like about them both is that even though they don't go for the takedown as much, they're not afraid to engage in the grappling if they were to get taken down themselves. I mean, we've seen it with Amanda Lemos as well. She herself, she has 3 submissions on her record. So yeah, I think this one for the most part will be on the feet, but I don't know if it's going to go all 3 rounds. I'd be surprised if this makes it. To the end of the 5th round, I should say.
That's interesting because, I was almost thinking one of the things that might play a big factor in this fight is the fact that Marina's got a pretty good amount of experience in headlining fights and 5-round fights. She's headlined 2 fight nights previous to this one, and both of those she won by decision in 2021. So she's been through multiple 25-minute fights, and this is something that Amanda Lemos has yet to see. And that's even if her fights have gone all the decisions, she just hasn't been headlining. She did headline when she fought Andrade, but that fight didn't even get out of the first round. Andrade took her out back really quickly and quite easily in that fight. So outside of that, Lemos wouldn't have any ability to get to the 25-minute mark. I think the conditioning there might come into play. So we'll see. Even if it doesn't get to the end of the 5th round, maybe it ends in the 4th round, in part because Lemos is getting tired and leaving a little bit more opening for Marina to, you know, dice her up and get a knockout. I'm not sure I'm confident enough to bet on that, but I think that fact alone definitely sways me towards Marina Rodriguez more. She's not the kind of girl that you're going to be able to knock out. At least she's never been knocked out in her pro career. So I wouldn't really expect Lemos to be able to get the KO. And to me, it's just going to be so hard for Lemos to push for 25 minutes and win a decision against Marina. So in this one, Jose, I'm definitely leaning Marina Rodriguez.
Yeah, for this one, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm going for Marina Rodriguez as well. And yeah, I think you're right. Her experience compared to Lemos, I do think plays a huge role in this one. What I like the most about Marina Rodriguez as well is, yeah, she actually has proven that she can make it all the way to the end. So I actually do change that. I don't know if she were to win, I do see her winning by unanimous decision. I'd be it'd be weird to see her get a split decision back to back. But anything can happen. But yeah, for this one, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Marina Rodriguez winning by unanimous decision.
For sure. Yeah, man. I think that's a great look at the bet. I think you get some good plus money on that. I don't think the lines are, excuse me, I don't think the lines are out quite this early on that, but I would definitely take a look come this weekend at Rodriguez by decision. Lemos is, you're just looking at Lemos quickly too. She's been finished once by Andrade via submission, and she was knocked out by Leslie Smith back in 2017. But I just don't see that happening. I think Marina has a nice technical game here on the standing game, and I think she gets the decision win.
So there you guys have it. Both Nick and I for Marina Rodriguez, the betting favorite. And that leads us to the next fight of the night. It's the co-main event. It is a welterweight bout between Neil Magny and Daniel Rodriguez. Right now, Neil Magny is the betting underdog at he's actually the betting favorite at minus 125, while Daniel Rodriguez is the betting underdog at minus 102. Yeah, we recently saw Daniel Rodriguez take on Zhili Yang at UFC 279. It was a last minute switch up, and he ended up winning that by split decision. A lot of people thought, I kind of thought Zhili Yang may have won that one. It was really close to call. No wonder it was split decision. It could have really gone either way, but a lot of people do argue for Zhili Yang as well. So that still, in my mind, leaves a little bit of a few question marks as well. And before that, he had a win over Kevin Lee, and before that, Preston Parsons and Mike Perry. So right now, Daniel Rodriguez is riding a 4-fight win streak, while Neil Magny is actually coming off a loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov via submission in the second round back at UFC Sarukian versus Gamrat. That happened earlier this summer, and yeah, I mean, right now, Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's a beast though too. Like, that guy's going to be in the top 5 very soon. We all know that, and it's going to be interesting to see just how the welterweight divisions will be kind of shaken up by that. But Neil Magny, he's still in the picture. I mean, before that, he was riding off a 2-fight winning streak against Jeff Neal and Max Griffin. So I still think he's got it. This is a dangerous fight for D-Rod. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Definitely really dangerous, man. I mean, Neil Magny is nuts, dude. If you look at this guy's history of fights, at least more recently, from 2017 on, the guys he's lost to, RDA, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Michael Chiesa, and Shavkat Rakhmonov. I mean, those are all just stud fighters that you really can't fault a guy for losing to. But I do look at that fight against Max Griffin. I do think I don't know about that. He got the split decision win, and I think it was he did get the takedown. He had some ground control time, which was a great call on his end. But I just don't think he's going to be able to do that against Daniel Rodriguez. He's a great striker and also has the ability to defend takedowns. Li Jingliang did get a takedown against him, but it didn't really turn into anything. 2 seconds ground control time, got right out of it. And I don't know, man, D-Rod is just the kind of guy who can stick in these fights. I like that he's got, I guess I actually don't like the fact that he's a little shorter and smaller. Neil Magny is really tall and lanky, right? So when you look at the reach discrepancy here, it does make you realize that, yeah, I'm sure Neil Magny definitely has a really easy time keeping the distance if he wants to. And that's what would concern me the most. But I don't know, man. I think this could be D-Rod's time. This could be D-Rod's time.
No, without a doubt. I mean, looking at the numbers right now, the one thing that scares me the most when looking at D-Rod versus Neil Magny is that D-Rod's numbers, I mean, he throws 7.75 significant strikes per minute. That, going against Neil Magny, it could be a problem. Neil Magny is kind of a slow starter. There's, so many times where he just likes to clinch up with a fighter and just get a hold of him, but he's not really throwing much. And in return, he's getting damage back. And, if he tries to clinch up Daniel Rodriguez, he better come in with a game plan, be throwing those knees and put him against the cage like he normally does. Because when he can't do that, that's when those guys start firing back and take him down and just throwing shots. And I can see Daniel Rodriguez being in the clinch, in Neil Magny's clinch, and D-Rod just throwing body shots and uppercuts and could possibly put Neil Magny out. That is what does scare me about Neil Magny, about how slow of a starter he can be. But other than that, you mentioned it. He has a reach advantage over D-Rod, and not only that, I do think that he has the experience, the vet experience over D-Rod. I mean, he's in terms of the welterweight division as well. Because when I look at it, Neil Magny's been in the game for a bit, and he's gone against the who's who of the division. He himself has a win over Zhi Liang as well, and and Daniel Rodriguez, a lot of his fights that he's won kind of come against at least more recently against people who used to be in the lightweight division, like Kevin Lee and Mike Perry, while Neil Magny has wins over legit welterweights. He even has a win over the former champ Robbie Lawler. So because of that, I do want to take his experience, his vet experience, and his reach advantage for the win. I could see him winning this via unanimous decision. I don't know if he has it to put out D-Rod because D-Rod is that tough. But yeah, I mean, anything can happen. And D-Rod, like I said, D-Rod's high striking advantage, striking percentage is what scares me the most. But I'm gonna stick with Neil Magny winning this by unanimous decision.
Yeah, that's definitely fair, and I think going with the unanimous decision pick is the right way to go if you are on Magny's side. D-Rod is the kind of guy who's not been knocked out in his pro career, and I understand he hasn't fought some of the likes that Neil Magny has seen. But I also think that might go against Neil Magny. He's gotten his lights put out a few times, and he's gotten submitted a few times as well. And D Rod's only ever lost by decision. Now, that could easily change, of course, as he starts to see some of the top echelon of the UFC like Neil Magny. But in this case, I'm going to stick with the underdog here and go with D Rod. I'm not confident enough to bet any win decision individually, but I'll be placing a bet on the underdog D Rod. And Jose will be placing his pick on Neil Magny. That being said, we're going to head into the heavyweight bout of the night. We've got Chase Sherman fighting against Josh Parisian. This is a guy, Jose Chase Sherman at least, a guy that we said was fighting for his UFC contract when he fought Jared Vanderaa and ended up getting the win. He didn't look amazing. He didn't look pathetic. He looked like a typical average UFC fighter and ended up getting the knockout by punches in round three. Nothing real special, to be honest, against that specific opponent. And Josh Parisian, more of the same. I mean, losing to Parker Porter in 2020, Roque Martinez, the split decision win. I mean, good God, barely scraped past that. Got destroyed in the third round by Dontel Mays. Now you coming off a win against Alan Badeau. Woohoo, right? So I don't know, man. This is going to be, I think, a classic heavyweight matchup. Like, if you're an old school UFC fan, it might kind of make you harken back to the old days of just standing there hitting each other and punching each other and seeing what happens. Um, but that being said, the odds are in Chase Sherman's favor. He is the minus 128 favorite, and Josh Parisian is the plus 100 underdog. So, Jose, what are you thinking about this one?
Yeah, like you said, this is definitely going to be like the old UFC days. You got two heavyweights, both finishers. Like it's crazy. 15 out of the 16 wins that Chase Sherman has come via KO/TKO. And yeah, just looking up and down his record, yeah, this guy has not made it to the distance in one by going to the distance in a long, long time. And same thing with Josh Parisian. He just came off that second round TKO win over Alan Badeau. And yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say no matter who you bet for on this fight, it'd be silly to go having them win by unanimous decision. And for this one, I would have to go with Chase Sherman. Just the only reason is that he throws more significant strikes per minute than Josh Parisian. Like Parisian, if that because it's going to definitely come down to these two big boys standing in front of each other and trying to put lights out. And so I'm going to go with the guy that has the higher striking percentage, as well as not much of a reach advantage because Josh Parisian does have a 1 inch reach advantage. But for this one, yeah, you can put me down for Chase Sherman.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's really definitely not much more to be said. Parisian, his win against Alan Badeau is just so irrelevant to me. I just have no confidence. There's no way I would put a dime on that man. He lost to Parker Porter and lost to a guy who lost to Parker Porter. I mean, it's just, it's kind of embarrassing if I'm being honest, and not that Chase Sherman's that great. But yeah, definitely not picking Parisian at all. So I'll take Sherman, and that's about that.
So there you guys had it. Both Nick and I for Chase Sherman. And yeah, again, it's not going to make it to the end of the 3 rounds. I'd be surprised if it does. And that leads us to the next fight of the night. It is a flyweight bout between Tagir Ulanbekov versus Nate Maness. Right now, Tagir, he is the betting favorite at minus 215, while Nate Maness is the betting underdog at plus 164. Last time we saw Nate Maness, I think we actually were going for him as the underdog against Umar Nurmagomedov. I can't much remember, but this guy, when he fights, he throws everything but the kitchen sink, if that's the saying. I mean, this guy, he throws with a bang and he throws wild shots. He does score 1.95 significant strikes per minute, but this guy, I mean, he's a dog and he stays in it. I think that fight against Nurmagomedov, does I don't describe him. Umar Nurmagomedov is a beast, so him losing that by unanimous decision, I don't know if it says much, but Tagir, he's actually coming off a loss to Tim Elliott, unanimous decision. So he being a big favorite, him being the minus 210 favorite, just kind of surprises me because, yeah, Tim Elliott's good, but I mean, Nate Maness, I mean, he does have the chance to win this even by unanimous decision.
Yeah, man, you're definitely right about us. I remember Nate Maness was like a plus 500 underdog, I think. And Nurmagomedov was minus like 1200 or something wild. And I just remember saying, like, there's no way I would put a bet on Nurmagomedov. And he ended up kind of manhandling Maness, and it went 3 rounds. So, I guess Nurmagomedov, if the bet paid out, the way I guess it was intended, Nurmagomedov would have finished him in like 5 seconds, right? But he got the win, and it was pretty dominant. And since that was at bantamweight, so now this is a fight at flyweight. I think that's good for Maness. I think he needs to drop. He did look a little undersized. Umar kind of just got on his back and just manhandled in the whole fight. And that's not something that Tagira, I think, is going to be able to accomplish on Nate Maness. I think he's a tall, lanky guy, 3-inch height advantage, 2-inch reach advantage. It's interesting, man. Nate Maness being an underdog here at plus 162 really makes me lean towards him, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, Tagir, just like he's from his Dagestani descent, like he does have that strong grappling. So I can see him trying to implement a similar game plan to Umar Nurmagomedov, but I don't know, man. Like seeing him like go to unanimous decision against Tim Elliott, like again, Tim Elliott's like nothing really that spectacular to be honest. So yeah, for this one, I do see value in the underdog Nate Maness, so I'm gonna have to go with him via winning this. I don't know what method, but I'll definitely have to take Nate Maness winning this.
Yeah, and I'm assuming the fact that he is Tagir, that being is Dagestani, I'm assuming that's kind of why he's the favorite here. He's even coming off a loss. It was a unanimous decision loss. I mean, he has beaten Alan Nascimento. That's impressive, but it was a split decision win, and he even got 4 takedowns in that fight, 12 minutes of ground control, and it was still a split decision. I just don't think Tagir is on the same level of that we've seen of the Nurmagomedov and Islam and those other guys that are being pretty much directly trained by Habib. So that being said, I'm very confident in as long as Maness, I'm going to wait, I will say, just to make sure he makes weight and he looks decent on the scales. He doesn't look like he's dead. Because it is tough for a guy I can only imagine a guy that's 5'10" to get down to 125. But once he makes that happen, I think he'll be just fine. And I'm going to be putting some money on the underdog, Nate Maness. Sounds like Jose agrees. Then takes us into the opening fight of UFC Vegas 64. And Jose, personally, this is the fight I'm looking forward to the most. A lot of people may not be that interested in it, but it's a unique fight in that we're getting 2 guys that can wrestle like beasts, and we'll see. We may not see that much of a stand-up striking game. Mark Madsen, the Olympian, coming off a huge streak. He's never lost in his pro fighting MMA career. And that being said, he's fought, a washed up Clay Guida and Vince Pichel, who, isn't necessarily, well, I guess he's not washed up, but he's 39. He's kind of definitely at the end of his career. I've yet to see Mark Madsen really push it home to a good fighter. And Grant Dawson, man, 28 years old and coming off a big win against Jared the Flash Gordon. He choked him out in the third round. Jose, we've got the odds here of Mark Madsen, a plus 186 underdog, and Grant Dawson, a minus 245 favorite. What are you thinking?
Yeah, this one is definitely. It's needless to say. Yeah, you have two guys that are strong in the grappling department, and because of that, that kind of scares me and makes me think that this actually may end up being like the complete opposite of everyone what may think, and it may just be an all out striking match. I think maybe both guys may come in with a lot of respect for each other's wrestling game that they may just avoid it. Maybe like Kobe Covington and Kamaru Usman. We didn't in that first fight. We didn't see much. It was just, much wrestling, and they're both great wrestlers. It was just pure striking. So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe that would be the outcome that we all may get. And Mark Manson, yeah, this guy, him being undefeated and being the underdog is kind of crazy, but he is significantly older than Grant Dawson. And that being said, Mark Manson has also had an Olympic career, so that is still wear and tear on the body, especially wrestling being the hardest discipline out of MMA that like pretty much tears your body down the most out of all of them. That yeah, I mean it'd be hard not to go with Grant Dawson. The guy, he himself has strong submission record. I mean, he has 12 out of his 18 wins come via submission. So, man, like maybe Mark Manson, I think he may have good enough wrestling to prevent getting submitted, but we just saw Islam submit Charles Oliveira. So who knows? Like maybe Grant Dawson can catch Mark Manson with a submission. And not only that, for how much younger Chase Grant Dawson is, he does have more MMA experience than Mark Manson. So because of that, it's going to be hard not to go with the betting favorite in Grant Dawson, Nick.
Totally agreed, man. And I love that last point you make because that's kind of what I was thinking as well. Mark Madsen, as much of an animal as he is, hasn't gotten as much of just the raw experience and lifelong training that some of these other kids have gotten. I get Grant Dawson is 10 years younger, but you said it best, man. He's got more experience in an MMA ring. And that's specifically more important because MMA, like you said, I also love the first point you made that maybe they respect each other's grappling and wrestling ability and they just kind of leave it alone. And maybe it happens once or twice throughout the fight, but neither of them want to, quite take the reach and jump off the ledge to just go for the takedown and maybe fail. And if that's the case, I would love to have Grant Dawson on my bet there. I think Grant Dawson for sure has the experience and the ability to win striking. And I think, if anything, maybe Madsen respects the wrestling and doesn't try any takedowns in round one, and then starts to get smacked up a little bit. And he's like, okay, I guess I'm not winning this standing up. I got to do something, and kind of puts himself in risky positions in round two. It does kind of make me wonder if the fight will go the distance. So I'm very hesitant on betting a specific decision, Jose. But I'm for sure agreeing that the favorite here, Grant Dawson, seems like the way to bet.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the way I see it is like if I go with Grant Dawson, I may actually end up going with him winning, but it's tough to say whether it'd be submission or KO because, I mean, like he only has 4 wins that come via KO slash TKO out of his 18 wins. So the percentage of him getting that again, it's like who knows. But again, if they do stand, then yeah. But that's something more like I guess I would have to decide the day of. I for sure have Grant Dawson winning this. I don't see Mark Manson really even finishing Grant Dawson. He's only been able to finish half of his wins. So and Mark Manson, the way I looked at it and seen it, I think he just likes to ride it out and try to implement his wrestling game and just to kind of coast him to a unanimous decision victory. He doesn't really force to look to fit, and like he doesn't try to force any finishes. So I think that laid back nonchalant style may come back and bite him, because I definitely feel like Grant Dawson's going to, being younger, I just think that he's going to kind of come in with more full force and try to get Mark Manson out of there as soon as possible. So I have him for winning this, Grant Dawson. I can't say right now what method, but I guess I will lean towards the submission department.
Sounds good. Well, those are our 5 picks for UFC Vegas 64. And to quickly review, um, we've got our 3-leg parlay currently sitting at Nate Maness plus Grant Dawson plus Chase Sherman, and that will return plus 557 odds currently on FanDuel. Jose and I would both agree that that's a great parlay. Those are the 3 fights that we mainly agreed on. Chase Sherman's a little bit more risky to bet on because it kind of seems like a toss up of a heavyweight fight. So maybe we sub out Chase Sherman and take your pick of the main event. Maybe take the favorite Marina Rodriguez instead and get plus 436 odds on that 3-leg, and that might even be more likely to happen. Um, on top of that, we gave some earlier picks in the pod in terms of win methods. Look for potentially Daniel Rodriguez. In my opinion, he is one of the guys I'm looking at getting the fight to end early. But that isn't one that Jose and I agreed on. Also look at Marina Rodriguez and over on rounds. That is definitely one that Jose and I do agree on. And Marina Rodriguez should be getting that win by decision. And otherwise, individual bet on Nate Maness. Likely at this point, our underdog of the week. And he's looking to be in a good spot against Tagir. So that's plus 162 right now. Go just make a single bet on it. Do it. Regardless, go follow us on Twitter at Moneyline MMA. We'll make a tweet on Saturday with our final bets, always subject to change. And give us a comment down below, like the video, and let us know what bets you'll be placing. Thanks, guys, for listening, and we'll be back next week. Talk about a big card coming up in the middleweight division.